Many executives with type 2 diabetes waste years battling with uncontrolled blood sugar, constant fatigue, and poor mental focus. As a result, their work, family, and personal projects suffer. But there's a three-step system, the Diabetes Freedom Formula, that tens to hundreds of my clients have used for nearly a decade to naturally lower their blood sugar in half the time compared to relying on medication alone. Sounds crazy, right? Yes, it does, but it's true. Here, let me show you. I reviewed several global studies looking at how fast different drug combinations lower HbA1c, your average blood sugar levels, over 3 months. Here's what I learned. 1. Combining multiple drugs gave faster drops in HbA1c values. And 2. The average fastest drop in HbA1c I found was 0.52% per month. Now compare that to our clients. They achieve an average drop rate in their HbA1c of 1.1% per month. That's 2 times faster than relying on drugs alone, according to the global studies I looked up. And it gets even better. Our best performer so far, Charlie, achieved a drop of 2.61% per month. That's more than 5 times faster than relying on drugs alone. And in those same 4 months, Charlie avoided starting insulin injections, dropped her HbA1c from 15.9% to 5.1%, lost 10 kilograms of fat, boosted her energy and focus, avoided unnecessary drug side effects, and cut her monthly medical bill from 2 million Uganda shillings to just 200,000 Uganda shillings. All of this naturally, all without depending on insulin, all by following the Diabetes Freedom Formula. My name is Dr. Andrew Etuket, and welcome to the Vigorized Masterclass. I help executives with type 2 diabetes go from constant fatigue and poor focus to peak energy and mental sharpness by naturally normalizing their blood sugar 2 to 5 times faster than they ever would relying on medication alone. I hold a bachelor's degree in human medicine and surgery with over 2 decades of medical experience in both public and private hospitals. For nearly a decade, I've led a team at Timnath Health Hub located in Bugolobi, Kampala, helping hundreds of high-level professionals, including teams at Minet, Stanbic Bank, and ABSA, naturally take control of their blood sugar, burn fat, and boost their energy and focus without depending on medication or quick fixes. My mission is to help 1,000 executives by the year 2030 take control of their blood sugar and reclaim their energy and mental sharpness. I stand by 3 core beliefs. 1. I believe that type 2 diabetes can be reversed and that you can achieve freedom from the complications, costs, and frustrations associated with it. 2. I do not believe in quick fixes like Ozempic, juicing, extreme fasting, taking slim teas, concoctions, herbs, so-called stem cell therapy, and weight loss surgeries, etc. In fact, I'm strongly against them. They destroy your health, create frustration, and aren't sustainable. And 3, I do not believe in depending on medication to manage type 2 diabetes. Most who do so see their pill burden and complications increase year after year. Here's what we'll cover today. 1. The real cause of type 2 diabetes. 2. Why quick fixes fail and aren't sustainable. 3. Why depending on medication isn't a long-term solution. And 4. The 3-step system, the Diabetes Freedom Formula, that helps you sustainably control your blood sugar and boost your energy levels. All right, so let's dive in. To start, you need to understand the real cause of type 2 diabetes. Most sources say that type 2 diabetes is caused by insulin resistance. That is, when your cells don't respond well to insulin. But how does the insulin resistance develop? I mean, it doesn't just appear out of nowhere, does it? Well, think of a tree. Insulin resistance is that tree. The root of the tree is the wrong lifestyle. Things like the wrong nutrition, the wrong type of exercise or lack thereof, and poor recovery. Again, just like mango fruits come in different shapes and sizes, some big and some small, The insulin resistance fruit also comes in different forms with varying disease burden: type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, abnormal levels of cholesterol and triglycerides, what is called dyslipidemia, fatty liver, etc. I speak to many people who say, I don't have any problems with my blood sugar. It's just my pressure, which is high. But after testing, they find that at least one of their blood sugar or cholesterol is either borderline or even high. You see, it's the same tree of insulin resistance, but its fruit is manifesting in different ways: high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, abnormal cholesterol, and so on. Here are the normal ranges for these conditions. Feel free to take a screenshot for your records. Fasting blood sugar, less than 5.6 millimoles per liter. HbA1c, less than 5.7%. Blood pressure, systolic reading of less than 120 millimeters of mercury, and a diastolic reading of 80 millimeters of mercury. HDL cholesterol, greater than or equal to 1.5 millimoles per liter. Triglycerides, less than 0.8 millimoles per liter. You'll notice that these targets are much stricter than most of the labs out there. Why? Because these conditions don't just switch from normal to abnormal overnight. They progress through a borderline stage, for example, prediabetes, where organ damage already starts to happen. Over time, these conditions can have serious complications like heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, liver failure, amputations, blindness, and erectile dysfunction. That's why these conditions are called silent killers. They don't announce themselves like malaria with fever. They progress quietly until it's too late. That's why I hope my clients stay well below these borderline values. Does that sound unreasonable? I hope you realize that the real cause of type 2 diabetes isn't insulin resistance. It's the wrong lifestyle. Now, let's take a look at what the wrong lifestyle is, starting with the most important, the wrong nutrition. The wrong nutrition can be eating the wrong type of food, eating too much food, or eating too little. Let's start with the first two. Eating the wrong foods, especially excess carbohydrates, and to a lesser extent, eating too much food, makes your body produce too much insulin. High insulin levels cause your body to store fat. First, under the skin, subcutaneous fat, and then if insulin levels remain chronically high, around the intestines, visceral fat, and also inside certain organs, ectopic fat. Visceral fat and ectopic fat are what cause insulin resistance. Visceral fat is one of the key measurements I track for clients who attend our Diabetes Freedom Program. It's more common in men, however, the risk in women increases after menopause. In my experience, over the past 10 years, about 9 out of 10 men with a protruding belly, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem, have borderline or high visceral fat levels. For men, high visceral fat levels also cause a reduction in testosterone levels, which results in 1. A female fat distribution pattern manifesting as enlarged breasts or man boobs, and also love handles, which is deposition of fat around the waist and hips. And 2. Erectile dysfunction. Both of these contribute to reduced confidence in men. Many male clients who start the program with erectile dysfunction report significant recovery and no longer needing Viagra or herbs within 1 month of starting to reduce their visceral fat levels. I speak to many people who say, I don't have any chronic illnesses, it's just my weight. But after testing, they find that at least one of their blood sugar, blood pressure, or cholesterol readings are either borderline or high, often without symptoms. You need to get this. Obesity, belly fat, whatever you call it, is more serious than you think. It's the main driver of these silent killers that we've discussed. I'll say it again. If your belly isn't flat, especially for men, or you think it's just blood pressure or just cholesterol, go and test your blood sugar so that you can take action early enough. About 2 years ago, I spoke to a 51-year-old gentleman who had momentarily blacked out as he boarded a plane from the UK to Uganda. He had no known illnesses. Despite the crew advising him to stay back, he insisted on traveling and came straight to see me after landing. On examination, he had a slightly distended belly, but honestly, for his age, many people would say it was fine. His BMI, body mass index, was 27, overweight. His visceral fat was right at the borderline, 10 points. Again, not bad, you would say, given his age. His systolic blood pressure was 131, elevated. Looking at his labs, the story became clearer. Fasting blood sugar was 5.1, normal but on the upper level. HbA1c was 5.9%, prediabetic. His eGFR, a measure of his kidney function, was 88, slightly reduced. His HDL cholesterol, which protects him from heart attack and stroke, was 0.43 millimoles per liter, significantly low. His triglycerides, which are harmful, were 1.17 millimoles per liter, elevated. And finally, his triglyceride to HDL cholesterol ratio, which estimates his risk of a heart attack or stroke, was 2.7, noticeably elevated. So what were his metabolic issues? 1. Overweight. 2. Elevated visceral fat. 3. Stage 1 hypertension. 4. Prediabetes. 5. Dyslipidemia. 6. Chronic kidney disease, stage 2. So why did he black out? He most likely suffered a transient ischemic attack, a TIA, basically a mini stroke. This happens when the blood supply to a particular part of the brain gets temporarily cut off, but then gets restored before permanent damage occurs, and symptoms typically resolve within a few hours. All these hidden issues, and yet he was unaware. How lucky was he? If he hadn't taken action, what could have happened to him, to his family? Is it unreasonable to say that you shouldn't ignore a distended belly? Now, what about the person who has always been thin but still gets type 2 diabetes? Yes, even thin people can get type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance isn't only caused by chronically elevated insulin levels in your blood from poor nutrition and weight gain. That's the main cause, yes, but there are other causes independent of weight gain. That is, 1. Chronic stress, and 2. Chronic inflammation, for example, due to chronic illnesses like cancers or HIV, stroke, AIDS. What about genetics? One common thing I hear from people expressing interest in our health coaching program is that I fail to control my blood sugar. It must be genetic. Yes, though genetics can play a role in elevating blood sugar levels in type 2 diabetes, it's extremely rare. Genetics may have a more significant role in another type of diabetes called MODY, maturity onset diabetes of the young. But that's beyond the scope of our discussion today. Now, this will probably sound direct. Blaming genetics as the cause for your type 2 diabetes is a lame excuse. A deflection that keeps people focused on things they can't change, like their genes, instead of focusing on what they actually can change, their lifestyle. Lifestyle plays a much more significant role, and it's something which you have 100% ability and responsibility to change. Moving on to insight number 2, why quick fixes fail and aren't sustainable. I once spoke to an executive in his 50s who flew to Turkey for a stomach balloon to help him with weight loss. He kept it in for 3 miserable months, during which he experienced excruciating symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and bloating. He eventually had to fly back to Turkey just to get it removed. Time, energy, and thousands of dollars wasted. But the worst part? He ended up even heavier than before at 110 kilograms and was later diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So, what went wrong? I mean, the balloon was supposed to help him lose weight, right? Well, that's what they tell you, but not really. You see, when the balloon is inserted and filled with air or liquid, it simply reduces the amount of space in your stomach. As a result, you fill up quickly and eat small amounts of food. But that's exactly where the problem begins. Eating little isn't just skipping meals, fasting, low-calorie juicing, or vegetable diets. It's anything that limits the amount of food digested and absorbed into your blood circulation. 1. Suppressing appetite. For example, the stomach balloon we just discussed, drugs like Ozempic, gliptins, for example, sitagliptin, saxagliptin, etc. 2. Blocking digestion or absorption. For example, drugs like Acarbose, traded as Glucobe here in Uganda, or Olistat. 3. Speeding up the flow of food through the intestines. For example, gastric bypass surgery or colon cleanses. And 4. Inducing nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. For example, slim teas and certain herbs. At first, eating too little may help you lose fat. But if this continues for days or weeks, your body stops getting enough energy to function properly. Think of a car engine that regularly runs on an almost empty tank. Over time, it gets stressed and its performance drops. The same thing happens to your body. To cope with this stress, it shifts certain key hormones, cortisol, thyroid, sex, and hunger hormones. The result? Your metabolism slows down, so you burn fewer calories while at rest. 2. Your hunger increases, leading you to eat more than you should. The combination of burning fewer calories and overeating causes you to regain any weight lost, often even more than before. You probably know, or have been, that person who lost a lot of weight at first and celebrated, only to gain it all back and even more in the weeks to months that followed. Other potential effects of eating too little are 3. Your fertility drops, showing up as PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome, and irregular cycles in women, and erectile dysfunction in men. 4. You build up visceral fat, which we've already discussed. And 5. You lose muscle mass. Muscle is important because 1. It improves your physical appearance. When you lose muscle, it first shows in your face and upper arms, making you look thinner, weaker, and frail. 2. It burns about 25% of the calories you use at rest. You will never sustainably lose fat if you keep losing muscle. And 3. It absorbs 80% of blood glucose in healthy individuals, helping to regulate blood sugar levels. Notably, with Ozempic, up to 40% of the weight lost can actually be muscle, which makes it especially dangerous. This is why tracking weight loss with a weighing scale is not the best option. It doesn't always mean fat loss. It could mean you've 1. Gained muscle while losing fat, which is actually the best result, or 2. Lost more muscle than fat, which is a bad outcome. That's why, instead of depending on a weighing scale, I focus on tracking body fat, visceral fat, and muscle mass for my clients. And where that's not possible, I recommend tracking waist size or how clothes fit around the waist instead of just depending on weight. Moving on to the wrong exercise. One of my clients, Kenneth, an executive in his mid-40s, was struggling with belly fat and abnormal cholesterol levels. He told me that he jogged every day for over an hour for a full month, yet he didn't lose even a single kilogram. After each run, he would have tea and a banana and then go to sleep. You see, Kenneth made 3 mistakes. 1. Doing long duration cardio. 2. Working out too often without recovery. And 3. Not eating the right nutrition after his workouts. You need to understand that all exercise stresses the body, your muscles, your nerves, hormones, name it. But with the right kind of recovery, that kind of stress promotes growth and health. However, any exercise lasting more than an hour significantly drains your energy reserves. When combined with poor recovery, that is, inadequate sleep and poor nutrition, it stresses the body and causes the same effects as eating too little. That is, slower metabolism, increased hunger, buildup of visceral fat, and loss of muscle. These ultimately result in rebound weight gain. Kenneth joined my program, corrected his mistakes, and in just 6 weeks had lost 7 kilograms of fat, built muscle and strength, and normalized his cholesterol levels. He's not alone. Many people focus on burning calories using exercise to lose weight, but that approach causes muscle loss, making fat loss non-sustainable. The reality is, you can never outtrain a bad diet. The diagram illustrates the number of calories you could potentially burn through different types of cardio. In an hour, depending on the type of cardio, you might burn anywhere from 300 to 1000 calories. But all it takes is 1 or 2 slices of pizza or cake to cancel that out. And honestly, who really stops at just 2 slices of pizza? Okay, maybe you do, but let's be real. Are you washing it down with water? Or is it 1, 2, or more bottles of soda loaded with even more calories? I teach my clients a better way. Use the right nutrition to burn fat and the right exercise to build muscle. That way, they complement each other, just like Kenneth did. I'll say it again. Stop over-obsessing over doing exercise. If you're going to do the wrong type of exercise, it may actually be better not to do any exercise at all. What I've found is that the effects of doing the wrong type of exercise normally outweigh the effects of not doing exercise, as long as you're keeping your nutrition on point. I once had a client who was lame, but she wanted to take control of her blood sugar. She wanted to lose some fat. Did I turn her away? No, I didn't. We sat down together and worked out a plan around her nutrition and her recovery, which we'll be talking about shortly. And she went on to lose about 3 kilograms each month until she got to her goal while normalizing her blood sugar. All that without doing a single workout. I'll say it again. Being overweight, especially having excess belly fat, usually due to the wrong nutrition, is the single biggest risk factor for type 2 diabetes. This makes attaining and maintaining one's ideal weight and a flat belly absolutely important. That said, you will never sustainably lose fat if you depend on any of these methods. Instead, you will harm your body and become more and more unhealthy. It's simply fiction. If you value your health, stop depending on these methods. Finally, let's look at poor recovery. When Richard, a 41-year-old executive, came to me, stress was written all over his face. His blood sugar, blood pressure, and belly fat were out of control. He was barely sleeping, only 3 hours of uninterrupted sleep on most nights. He had big plans for his career and family, but with his health worsening, the future looked very dark. After just 3 months of putting in the work, his progress was exceptional. His HbA1c dropped from 10.3% to 6.2%. He had normalized his blood pressure, normalized his cholesterol and triglycerides, lost 9 kilograms of fat and built muscle and strength, reduced his waist size from 36 to 32 inches, and was now sleeping for 8 hours straight. Same job, same life. So what changed? You see, he learned to optimize his recovery. Recovery is how your body restores balance, repairs tissues, and rebuilds energy reserves after a time of stress. Stress can come from poor sleep, work pressure, emotional strain, for example, relationships, and physical factors like doing the wrong kind of exercise, as we've already discussed. Chronic stress spikes your cortisol levels, throwing your other hormones out of balance. The result? You start waking up around 2 or 3 a.m. and fail to sleep until about 5:30, 6 a.m., when you should actually be waking up. To sleep through the night, you need to build an evening routine that reduces cortisol and other sleep disruptors while boosting sleep enhancers like melatonin. Good quality sleep is central to recovery, blood sugar control, and overall health. In one study, two groups were compared. One slept for 5.5 hours and the other for 8 hours. After 2 weeks, the short sleep group had lost on average 0.6 kilograms of fat per week, while the 8-hour group had lost on average 1.4 kilograms of fat per week, almost 3 times more fat, simply by sleeping longer. You see, you burn most fat and build muscle when you sleep, assuming you've been eating right, not when you're exercising. And the more fat that you burn and muscle that you build, the better you will be able to control your blood sugar. Now, let's look at why medication doesn't work sustainably for managing type 2 diabetes. Medications for type 2 diabetes work in two ways. One, by limiting food absorption from your intestines, and two, by lowering blood sugar after it's already been absorbed into your blood circulation. Let's look at the first mechanism. 1. Limiting food absorption from your intestines. Drugs that work this way include gliptins, for example, saxagliptin, sitagliptin, vildagliptin, GLP-1 receptor agonists, for example, semaglutide, commonly traded as Ozempic, used for weight loss by several people, alpha glucosidase inhibitors, for example, Acarbose, commonly traded as Glucobe in Uganda. This mechanism presents at least two problems. First, it focuses on limiting how much food you eat, not what kind of food you eat. And as we discussed, the wrong type of food can spike insulin and cause fat storage way more simply than eating too much food. Second, by these drugs limiting the amount of food you absorb into your intestines, they reduce the energy available to your body, raising stress hormones like cortisol, which leads to more visceral fat, loss of muscle, and ultimately worsens blood sugar control. Let's look at the second mechanism. Lowering blood sugar after it's already been absorbed into your blood circulation. The rest of the other type 2 diabetes drugs work this way. This mechanism presents two problems. First, regulating blood sugar after it has already been absorbed into your blood circulation, spiked your insulin levels, and caused damage is like shooting yourself in the foot and then running to a surgeon to patch you up. Sure, the surgeon will be happy to do the job and get paid. But was that really the best choice you could have made? Would it be unreasonable of you to avoid pulling the trigger in the first place? Second, some drugs like injectable insulin and sulfonylureas like glimepiride, glipizide, and gliclazide actually raise insulin levels, the same way that eating the wrong type of food or too much food does. The logic is, since there is insulin resistance, push more insulin to overcome the resistance, like increasing water pressure to force through a blocked pipe. It may lower blood sugar on the short term, but worsens health on the long term due to increased fat storage and ultimately more insulin resistance and worsening blood sugar levels. Now, if you thought that that's the only shortfall of medication, there's more. As of the time of this recording, there isn't a single type 2 diabetes drug that, 1, effectively addresses the root causes of the disease, or 2, tackles the behavioral and psychological factors needed for real lifestyle change, including learning, building discipline, and shifting your mindset. And further still, like any other drug, these too come with side effects. I'll list just a few. Insulin can cause hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar levels, which can be fatal. It can also cause weight gain, increased risk of heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's disease. Sulfonylureas like glimepiride and gliclazide have the same side effect profile as insulin, but to a lesser degree. Glitazones like pioglitazone and rosiglitazone can cause weight gain. Gliflozins like dapagliflozin or empagliflozin can result in an increased risk of UTIs, that is, urinary tract infections. Gliptins like saxagliptin, vildagliptin, sitagliptin, and Ozempic can cause hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, gastrointestinal disturbances, and they can also increase the risk of inflammation of your pancreas and thyroid tumors. Gliptins and Ozempic can also cause loss of muscle mass, as we highlighted earlier. I'd also like to highlight a few common medications that are also linked with insulin resistance. For clients I work with, I usually stop these right away to avoid this effect. Taking them needlessly is like you sweeping the rubbish out of your kitchen, the rubbish being insulin resistance, and then leaving the door open only for the wind to blow it all back into your kitchen and mess it up. Anyway, these are the medications. 1. Beta blockers, drugs like metoprolol, propranolol, and atenolol, commonly prescribed for hypertension and anxiety attacks. 2. Thiazide diuretics. These are usually used for managing hypertension, such as clothalidone and hydrochlorothiazide. You may notice the H at the end of some hypertensive medications, like losartan H, telmisartan H, or in Uganda, amlodipine H. 3. Corticosteroids. Medications like dexamethasone and prednisolone, often used to treat asthma, eczema, and rheumatoid arthritis. 4. Antipsychotics. Drugs such as olanzapine, risperidone, and clozapine, typically prescribed for schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Antiretroviral drugs. Medications like ritonavir, lopinavir, used in HIV treatment. And 6. Contraceptives, whether oral, injectable, or implants. Some contraceptives may impact insulin sensitivity. You're probably wondering, why then do doctors prescribe medication for type 2 diabetes? Well, the truth is, as doctors, we're trained to follow protocols. Protocols are based on research, and most of the research is funded by pharmaceutical companies. Unfortunately, many times, these companies control what information gets highlighted and what gets buried in the reports. If something doesn't suit their narrative, it quietly disappears in many cases. That's weird, you're probably thinking. I know, it's not good. Unfortunately, like many systems, the diabetes care system is broken. And it's not just Uganda. This is a global issue. Are there some doctors who take advantage of this? Yes, like in every other sector. But their number is way insignificant compared to the majority of doctors who just want to help people. That's why we joined medical school in the first place. And that was exactly me, in my early years of practice, following the guidelines to the letter, prescribing the medications, and never questioning if that was the best way I could help my clients. Everything changed, however, in 2016. One morning, an executive in her mid-40s who worked for one of the lead banks here in Kampala walked in for her monthly review and drug refill. Like a robot, I wrote out her prescription and gave the classic line. Okay, here's your prescription. Remember to eat lots of vegetables and do lots of exercise. She stopped me in my tracks. Broken and desperate, she leaned in and said, Dr. Andrew, I've done all those things. I work out 3 times a week without fail, but my weight won't shift, and my blood sugar levels just keep spiking. I froze, embarrassed. I couldn't say anything. She was right. For the first time in a long time, I paused and let the moment sink in. We ended up speaking for about 30 minutes. We talked about her nutrition, her exercise, her stress management. We agreed to have more frequent reviews during the month, and she committed to making the changes we discussed. 3 months later, she burst into my consultation room with the biggest smile. Look at me, doctor. Don't I look good? She said, spinning around like a child who just discovered that she could dance. For sure, she looked good, but more importantly, she knew it and she felt it. She had lost 8 kilograms. Her blood sugar levels were now normal. Her energy levels and focus were at peak levels. And she'd even stopped 2 of her medications without even telling me. She was healthier than she had been in years. That moment changed everything for me. Fast forward to today, I've refined everything I've learned into a 3-step system, the Diabetes Freedom Formula. This system helps people who consistently adhere to it lower their blood sugar 2 to 5 times faster than relying on medication alone. Our system is made up of 3 frameworks, the 3 Bs. The first is burn fat. Most people teach that you need to starve to burn fat. That's not right, as we discussed. We, on the other hand, believe that local food, the right type, in the right amounts, is medicine and not an enemy of fat loss and blood sugar control. We teach you to eat to burn. By burning fat, you'll improve your insulin sensitivity and start lowering your blood sugar levels. By implementing the Eat to Burn framework, you will 1. Eat 2 to 3 nutritious meals a day so that you maintain peak energy and focus. Eat local foods wherever you are in the world so that it's sustainable. Learn to plan your meals and time them around your busy schedule. No fancy superfoods, herbs, supplements, etc. Just simple, natural, tasty food. The next step is build muscle. Most executives either push themselves into intense workout routines for hours each week and end up drained, or give up entirely because they feel that they have no time. Either way, they gradually lose muscle. We, on the other hand, teach you to lift weights wherever you are, at home, in the gym, or even while traveling, so that you build muscle. We teach you to lift to build. By building muscle, you'll use sugar more efficiently for energy so that you're never fatigued, you stay sharp at work, and you keep your blood sugar levels controlled. You'll also improve your physique, think better of yourself, and feel more confident in public spaces. By implementing the Lift to Build framework, you will do as few as 2 targeted weightlifting sessions per week, each lasting under 50 minutes, so that you can get back to work quickly. Perform the exercises safely so that you avoid unnecessary injuries. Use movements that suit your fitness level, beginner, intermediate, or advanced, so that they effectively help you build muscle and strength. No more endless cardio, counting steps, aching joints, or back pains. The last step is boost recovery. Most people ignore how they wind down their day or what they eat after a workout. We, on the other hand, teach you to prioritize rest to help your body boost its ability to recover from the stress of your day. We teach you to rest to boost. By implementing the Rest to Boost framework, you will achieve deep, uninterrupted sleep for up to 8 hours each night, wake up each morning refreshed, energetic, and focused, reduce muscle soreness after workouts, no more waking up tired, unfocused, and dragging yourself out of bed each morning. Eat to burn plus lift to build plus rest to boost equals health and freedom, hence the name, the Diabetes Freedom Formula. Medication alone, no matter how much, will never give you the sustainable transformation you seek. Before this masterclass, you probably did not know a better way, one that delivers up to 5 times faster and long-lasting results. Now you know it's possible to reverse type 2 diabetes and reduce your dependence on medication even to 0. And today, it's 100% your responsibility to take action. No more blaming your genetics, your body type, your blood type. No more blaming your busy schedule. The people whose stories I've shared with you today are executives just like you, some of them with even busier schedules than you. And yet, they took action and achieved diabetes freedom. If you feel that you're doing everything you can and yet it's not working, it simply means that it's not following the correct science. That's where the Diabetes Freedom Formula beats all the quick fixes and medications out there. It leverages the science to give you a predictable outcome. Many executives living with type 2 diabetes struggle with constant fatigue and poor focus, mainly because they're eating way less than their bodies need. They view food as an enemy of health. But here's the truth: the right food in the right amounts is medicine. For nearly a decade, I've used a simple 7-step framework to help high performers sustainably achieve normal blood sugar levels, boost energy, and lose stubborn belly fat without starving or using quick fixes like meds or juicing. I call it the Eat to Burn framework. You can remember it by the acronym Eat Burn. So let's dive into it. The first letter is E. E stands for eat. Eat on purpose. Your body needs consistent energy to function well. Many people who are overweight say, "I don't feel hungry during the day." That's because their hunger hormones aren't working properly, and therefore their bodies don't respond well to signals of hunger. Such people cannot rely on hunger signals to tell them when to eat, at least until they lose fat and get leaner. Eat intentionally, not emotionally or reactively. Think of healthy meals like a medical prescription. You wouldn't skip antibiotics just because you don't want to take them, would you? No, you wouldn't. Consistent, well-timed meals help to boost your metabolism and restore your sensitivity to hunger. The next letter is A. A stands for avoid. Avoid sugar and alcohol. Avoid alcohol and sugar-rich foods, especially sugar-sweetened beverages like sodas, sweet teas, and juices, including fresh juice. Intake of alcohol and sugar, even natural sugar, leads to buildup of visceral fat, which causes insulin resistance, which can lead to spikes in your blood sugar and pressure and abnormal levels of cholesterol. If you really want fruit, then eat it. Don't drink the juice. T stands for target. Target protein and healthy fats. Prioritize protein, for example, eggs, fish, and chicken, and healthy fats, for example, avocado, at the start and then at the end of your day. This will help to improve your insulin sensitivity and create an ideal environment to build muscle and burn fat. B stands for better. Make better carb choices. Not all carbohydrates are created equal. Should you choose to eat carbohydrates, then avoid flour-based foods, as these can spike insulin and cause insulin resistance. Instead, opt for those which are rich in fiber, for example, legumes like beans and peas, certain starches like sweet potatoes and yams, or whole grains like brown rice or whole wheat. And here's a tip. To avoid overeating, choose one carb source per meal. It will be easier for you to monitor your portions. U stands for upgrade. Upgrade your snacks. If you really must snack, opt for protein-rich foods. Avoid carbs. Each snack should contribute to boosting your metabolism, not hindering it. R stands for review. Review and track your progress. Burning fat is the most effective way to improve your insulin sensitivity and lower your blood sugar levels. However, depending on a weighing scale to track your fat loss isn't the best approach. Why? A drop in weight could mean that you've lost a significant amount of fat, which is good. But it could also mean that you've lost a significant amount of muscle, which is bad. On the other hand, an increase in weight can mean that you've gained fat, which is bad. But it could also mean that you've gained a significant amount of muscle, which normally results in sustainable fat loss, which is good. Therefore, when helping my clients, I focus more on tracking their actual fat mass, visceral fat levels, and muscle mass. Where this isn't possible, I recommend tracking your waist size or how clothes fit at your waist instead of just relying on the weighing scale. If your waist size reduces, you can be pretty sure that it's because you've lost fat, not muscle. The last letter is N. N stands for nourish. Nourish, don't starve. Consistently eating too little causes muscle loss, slows down your metabolism, and makes sustainable fat loss difficult or even impossible. After creating hundreds of personalized meal plans for my clients, plans that don't simply address the right type of food, but also the right amount of food, I've noticed one basic thing. When someone routinely eats less than 3 meals per day, they're simply not eating enough. Think of it this way. If you have one company which has, say, 10 employees, and then you have another company of similar magnitude and brand that has 40 employees, so that is 4 times more than the first company, which of those companies would probably have a bigger budget for staff salaries? The company with 10 or the company with 40 employees? Surely it's the one with 40 employees. It's the same thing here. If you have a 40-year-old man who is 70 kilograms versus another 40-year-old man of the same gender, same race, and everything who is 100 kilograms, the person who is 100 kilograms needs more food to sustain their function. Therefore, if you want to start eating less food, start losing the weight fast. And many times to lose that weight, you need to eat more. I know. It's something which confuses many of my clients. But when they simply stick to the plan that I give them and they start eating more than they were eating, of course, the right food, they find themselves losing weight and they wonder, how on earth am I losing fat and building muscle by eating more? And what I simply tell them is, yes, it's because weight loss isn't just about eating less and burning more. It's about balancing your hormones. So what about fasting? Fasting can be beneficial, but it has to be done right. You have to take special precaution to how much food and what types of food you eat when you break your fast. So how much fat can you expect to lose if you follow this simple 7-step framework? Well, clients who consistently follow this framework find themselves losing anything between a half to 1.5 kilograms of fat per week until their goal. All this while building muscle and boosting their strength. Remember, don't simply eat less. Eat smart. Eat to burn. Eating the right food is the first step to burning stubborn belly fat, and as a result, taking control of your blood sugar, pressure, and cholesterol. The next and equally important step is boosting your recovery. Many executives struggle to get a full night of restful sleep. They wake up in the middle of the night for reasons they can't explain, and as a result, start each day already fatigued, unfocused, and running on empty. But it doesn't have to be this way. There's a 4-step framework that hundreds of my clients have used to dramatically improve their sleep duration and quality, and as a result, burn stubborn belly fat, normalize their blood sugar levels, and boost their energy. Take Richard, for example, who was battling with type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and belly fat, barely getting 3 hours of unbroken sleep each night. Within just 3 months of us working together, he was able to normalize his blood pressure, drop his HbA1c from 10.3% to 6%, lost 9 kilograms of fat, built muscle, and was now consistently getting 8 hours of unbroken sleep. So let me walk you through my 4-step rest to boost framework. You can remember it by the acronym REST. The first letter is R, reset. Your body and mind need more than just movement. They need moments to reset and recharge. How do you do this? 1. Prioritize good nutrition and sleep, especially on stressful days. This is when your body is most likely to store fat and lose muscle if you don't recover well. Stressful days include times when you're battling an illness, for example, an infection. 2. Take intentional time off from your exercise routine, even if you don't feel depleted. This will allow your muscles to recover and return stronger and better at their performance. 3. Take intentional time to disconnect from work. Even a single day unplugged can reduce your stress hormones and calm you down. Taking annual leave regularly is just as important and should be a priority, not a luxury. Next is E, eliminate. Eliminate sleep disruptors. Sleep quality is often ruined by small habits. Here's what to change. 1. Stop taking large drinks, especially teas, within 4 hours of bed. Otherwise, you'll keep waking up to use the bathroom. 2. Limit carbohydrates at dinner. Heavy carbs can spike insulin, which will trigger adrenaline, which will make it hard for you to fall into deep sleep. 3. Limit high fiber foods like vegetables close to bedtime. You may think they are healthy, but too much of them can cause bloating and discomfort. 4. Avoid alcohol before bed. It may make you sleepy, but it disrupts a critical phase of sleep called REM sleep, needed for restoring focus, memory, and mood. 5. Avoid high-intensity exercise routines close to bedtime. These can spike adrenaline and make it difficult for you to fall into deep sleep. If you'd like to clear your mind, then take a slow 30-minute walk instead. 6. Keep screens off before bedtime or use blue light filters or glasses. This will protect the production of your main sleep hormone called melatonin. If you really must use your phone or laptop, then activate the eye shield or nightlight function. And lastly, avoid heated conversations or highly stimulating content within 2 hours of bed. This includes certain news cycles and sadly, intense sports like football, especially if your team isn't doing well. You know yourselves. Your adrenaline levels will spike, making falling into deep sleep difficult. I know, this is a tough one. So I'll leave it to you to find a balance that you can live with. Next is S. Scene. Set the scene for sleep. 1. Keep the bedroom for rest only. Don't carry work there. 2. Keep the bedroom slightly cool. That's the ideal temperature for sleep. You can do this by adjusting your nightwear, thickness of your beddings, the number of your covers, open a window, that's if it's safe, or use an AC or a fan. 3. Make the bedroom as dark as possible by using thick dark curtains or using an eye mask. 4. Swap white bulbs for amber or red light to boost melatonin production. And lastly, if you really struggle with sleep, you can try soft music, white noise, or cover your ears with earmuffs. The final piece of this framework is T. Time. Time your sleep. Give your body enough time to recover from the stress of the day. Aim for at least 7.5 hours of uninterrupted sleep each night. Yes, you're probably saying that that's too much. Well, in one study, researchers compared 2 groups of people. One group slept for 5.5 hours each night, and then the other group slept for 8 hours each night. After 2 weeks, they found that the group which slept for the shorter time lost on average 0.6 kilograms of fat, while the group which slept for the longer period of time lost 1.4 kilograms of fat. Nearly 3 times more fat simply by sleeping longer. What I advise my clients to do is identify those things in the evening which they can sacrifice for longer sleep. You actually burn more fat while you sleep, not while you're exercising. Speaking of exercise, many executives feel that they're too busy to work out. In the next part of this masterclass, I'll walk you through my Lift to Build framework, which helps executives do efficient and effective exercises to match their busy schedules. Many executives with type 2 diabetes want to start an exercise routine but fear that it will take too much of their time. But there's a simple 9-step exercise framework that my clients have used to build muscle so that they can balance their blood sugar levels and boost their energy while cutting their workout hours to just 1 to 2 hours per week, even without going to the gym. In this video, I'll show you what these 9 steps are and how you can start doing effective exercise without wasting time or energy. To start with, what's the main purpose of exercise? It should be to stimulate muscle growth. Why? Because muscle absorbs up to 80% of blood sugar in healthy individuals. This helps regulate blood sugar levels and boost energy. The more muscle you have, the better for you. To stimulate muscle growth, muscles have to perform at their best, but with balance. Hence the acronym for my 9-step exercise framework, Perform with Balance. The first letter is P, and P stands for place. Pick the best place. Start by choosing a place that fits your lifestyle. Some people thrive at the gym, whereas other people thrive at home. If you're training at home, you'll need some pairs of dumbbells to complement your bodyweight movements, such as push-ups and squats. What matters most isn't where you train, but that you train consistently and with science. A predictable environment will help you be consistent with your workouts. The next letter is E, establish. Establish your rhythm. You only need 2 to 3 focused exercise sessions per week, each lasting 30 to 60 minutes at most. For 2 sessions, you could do Monday and Thursday or Tuesday and Friday, while if you choose 3 sessions, then you could do Monday, Wednesday and Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Personally, I prefer Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as that leaves weekends free for rest and recovery. The right structure will create sustainability for your exercise routines. The next letter is R, reserve. Reserve your best time. Pick a time when you'll be able to bring your best energy to the workout, a time when you'll be focused, fed, and free from distractions. Many people leave exercise for the last part of their day when they're stressed, low on energy, and that's a great mistake. It's okay to do your exercise after work, but you should still have the energy to perform. Sleep well, that is for at least 7 hours on the night before your exercise session so that you wake up feeling energized and refreshed. Try to train within 1 hour of having a meal to ensure that you have the energy to perform. For beginners, I don't recommend working out on an empty stomach. I recommend that you have a pre-workout snack within 30 minutes of training and then have a larger meal within an hour afterward to maximize recovery. Use your best energy window to build muscle. You'll feel the benefits in both your health and work. Moving on to F, focus. Focus on the main thing. You'll be working out only 2 to 3 times a week, so you don't have time to waste on junk exercise. Exercise that will tire you out and deliver nothing. Therefore, focus on compound movements. Exercises that train multiple muscles all at once. For example, push-ups for your pushing muscles, that is, chest, front and side shoulders, and triceps. Dumbbell bent over rows for your pulling muscles, that is, back, rear shoulders, and biceps. And finally, goblet squats for your legs, that is, thighs and buttocks. Make these exercises as effective as possible by performing them with the correct form, proper posture, and full range of motion. Don't rush. Focus on each movement. Feel it and stay in control. Master these 3 compound movements, push, pull, and legs, and you've already trained your whole body efficiently. All right, moving on to O, optimize. Once you're confident with the 3 movements, push, pull, and legs, it's now time to do them at the right dose. Think of paracetamol for a headache. The effective dose is 2 tablets. If you took 1 tablet, you might not get the best relief for your pain. In exercise, this dose is called volume. Volume is simply the number of rounds or sets that you perform for each exercise. A set is a collection of repetitions or reps done at one go without resting. For example, if you do 8 squats and then rest, that is 1 set of 8 repetitions of squats. The minimum effective volume that you need to do each week in order to build muscle is about 8 sets per exercise. For example, if you've chosen to train twice a week, then that means 4 sets of each exercise on Monday and then 4 sets of each exercise on Thursday. If you've chosen to train 3 times a week, then that means 3 sets of each exercise on Monday, and then 2 to 3 sets of each exercise on Wednesday, and then 3 sets of each exercise on Friday. For your workout to be effective, each set must be high quality. That is, taken to or close to failure. What is failure? Failure is when the muscle you're targeting gets so fatigued that it can't continue with good form. Therefore, a high-quality set of 8 push-ups means that by the 8th repetition, you can barely do another, maybe just 1 or 2 with good form. If you find yourself hitting your target reps per set and feel no tension in the muscle, then you need to either lift a heavier weight for that exercise or do a more advanced variation of that exercise so that you fatigue sooner. You should take note of this. I wouldn't advise beginners to train all the way to total failure. Getting 1, 2, or 3 reps close to failure is enough to start building muscle while avoiding extreme soreness and injury. Prioritize high-quality reps with proper form over doing many reps. As you advance, you can then push closer to failure to ensure you continue stimulating your muscle to grow. Next is R, regimen. Execute your regimen. Start with a warm-up. A good warm-up protects you from injury while increasing your performance. You should warm up with the exact muscle that you intend to train, by doing an easier variation of the exercise or lifting a lighter weight for fewer repetitions. For example, if you plan to do push-ups, don't go on a jog. Instead, do an easier variation of push-ups, for example, knee push-ups. Or if your working weight for dumbbell bent over rows is 10 kilograms per hand, then warm up with 5 kilograms per hand for, say, 10 repetitions. As you warm up, focus on perfect form. Don't rush. Feel each movement. This makes your workout safer and more effective. Here's a simple regimen that beginners can do on their first day of training. Perform 3 to 4 high-quality sets for each of the 3 movements: push, pull, and legs. If you plan to do 2 sessions per week, then go with 4 sets per exercise. Aim for 8 reps per set. Rest for 1 to 3 minutes between sets, long enough to perform the next sets at the same intensity. However, don't rest for too long. It's best to complete one exercise at a time. That is, finish all your sets for, say, push-ups, then move on to all your sets for dumbbell bent over rows, and then conclude by doing all your sets for squats. However, if you're short on time, here's a trick. You can perform what is called a tri-set. 3 exercises done back to back with minimum rest between. For example, you can do your first set of push-ups, then have a mini rest of no longer than 30 seconds, move on to your first set of dumbbell bent over rows, have another mini rest of no longer than 30 seconds, and then do your first set of squats, and then have a full break of 1 to 3 minutes. That completes your first tri-set. Then repeat to complete your workout. This saves time while still being effective. However, once you're more advanced and doing more than 3 exercises per workout, I do not recommend combining more than 3 exercises at a go. The effectiveness of your muscle building routine will diminish. Alright, so that was day 1 of your Lift to Build exercise framework. Go on to complete the remaining workouts for your first week. The next letter is M, momentum. Build momentum. In order to build muscle, you need to progress in your training week on week. The simplest way to do this is by increasing the total number of sets by 1 every 1 to 2 weeks until you've completed 5 to 6 weeks of training. This gradual increase in volume is what drives muscle growth. For example, in weeks 1 and 2, you can perform 8 sets per exercise per week, and then in weeks 3 and 4, you can increase that by 1 to 9 sets per exercise per week, and finally, in weeks 5 and 6, you can perform 10 sets per exercise per week. Each week, also work on improving your form so that your performance improves as your volume increases. Alright, so now you're done with exercising, it's now time to ensure that you recover from your workouts. So that's where W and B come in. W stands for watch. Watch and recover. Expect to be sore within 12 to 72 hours after your exercise. That's a sign that your muscles are being stimulated to grow. It's a good thing. If you're resting and eating well between workout sessions, this soreness should resolve before your next workout. If it doesn't resolve, and yet your nutrition and sleep are good, it usually means that you did too much volume for 1 or more exercises in the previous workout. What should you do in this case? Reduce the number of sets for the affected muscle and keep it there for the rest of your 5 to 6 week cycle. You can still increase the training volume of the affected muscle, but by increasing the number of repetitions by 1 or 2 each week. This will be more tolerable for the muscle in question. For example, if 8 sets of squats felt fine, but increasing to 10 sets caused the soreness in your thighs to spill over into your next workout more than once, reduce the number of sets for squats to 9 and keep it there. To keep progressing with your squats, increase the number of repetitions per set by 1 each week. What if you never feel sore? Well, that isn't ideal either. It means you're not stimulating muscle growth effectively. In that case, increase the number of sets done for the muscle in question by 1 each week until you can no longer recover from the soreness. Always eat well and sleep for at least 7 hours each night, especially after working out. And if you consistently show up for workout sessions feeling low on energy, review your nutrition and sleep and even consider reducing your volume or number of exercise sessions. Remember, Growth happens during recovery, not in the gym. The final letter is B, break. Take an intentional break. After about 5 to 6 weeks of training, take an intentional break for 1 to 2 weeks, whether or not you feel fatigued. During this break, you can either lift lighter weights for fewer number of sets or do nothing entirely. Don't worry, you'll get back any gains lost within the first 1 to 2 weeks of your next training cycle, and your muscles will rebound stronger and better. During this extended break, be sure to eat well and sleep well. Think of your body as a computer upgrading its operating system so that it can perform better when you get back to work. So what do you do during your next training cycle? Well, you can either increase the starting set number by 1 or 2, or increase the starting repetition number by 1 or 2, and then do everything as we have just discussed to complete another cycle of 5 to 6 weeks. After 2 or 3 cycles, it may be beneficial for you to switch up the exercises so that you shock your body in a different way. You could also consider increasing the number of exercises per workout, but this is more for intermediates and advanced. That's my Lift to Build framework. Simple enough for any beginner executive to get started exercising without wasting time. So that was my 3-step system helping busy executives living with type 2 diabetes to reverse their condition and take control of their blood sugars while boosting their energy without wasting time, energy, or depending on quick fixes like medication. Eat to burn plus lift to build plus rest to boost equals diabetes freedom. So what next? I've given you all the information you need. You can either go on at this by yourself. I wish you the best, and let me know how that goes by dropping a comment below. On the other hand, if all this has sounded good, but you don't want to go on it by yourself, you'd like me to walk you each and every step of the way as your coach, then click the link in the description below to book a free diabetes freedom assessment with me. We'll discuss your unique situation and see if it's a good fit for us to work together.
Maybe Charlie, briefly in less than a minute, just share with the people what your experience has been.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Shali Misango, 60 years old. I'm very happy to say that I'm very successful with my program. I joined on 23rd August 2024, but my performance is really good. From an average level of 15.9, I'm at 5, which is really good for me. I've dropped by 10. Weight, I was at 106. I'm now at 95. I've dropped 11 kilos. My size was 22. I'm now at 16. So all is good. My budget for medicine was about 2 million point something, but I'm now at 200,000.
You said something which has shocked me. I don't know if it has shocked somebody else. Your budget for drugs was 2 million. Is that per month?
Yeah, per month. I was taking all the medicine. So I'm really happy. You've done so well, Dr. Etuket, and I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, but you see, like as I told you, I started on January 5th, March 21st. I'd lost a lot of weight. My waist, I think it was what? I was almost turning to 36. Now I was almost 32 because I had to get new clothes for the baptism of the boy. And everyone would say, "Oh, Percy, I've lost weight. What have you done? What did you say? No, I do exercise and I have got this." My name is Pius Katonzi. I'm the managing editor and the managing director of the Observer Media Limited. The worst thing that happened in my health was when I failed to get sleep. My headaches, I took painkillers, but I couldn't get relief. So when I went and checked, the doctors found that my pressure was almost at 170. So I got scared. So they put me on some drugs, which I used, I think, for like a month. I tried to do some physical exercise, but I think I was doing it the wrong way. I would sometimes try to jog, but I realized that kind of my back was trimming, and my front was enlarging. So people were making fun of me, saying, "You're becoming chubby." Or indeed, I had chubby cheeks. Along the way towards the end of 2020, I was on LinkedIn. So I was watching something. Then I saw this lady, Jane Kanya, and she said something that captured me. Say, I was able to lower my blood pressure without drugs. I said, God, where did this one go? So I watched the entire video. So in 2021, January, I said, I must speak for this doctor. When I arrived at Timna, I gave the doctor my history. He told me to go and check my cholesterol. He explained to me certain things. I went to see the doctor on January 5th. On March 21st was the baptism of my son. By that time, I was no longer fitting my old clothes. And at that time, the headaches had ceased. I was feeling good. And everyone was wondering, what did you do? What did you do? So I don't know. My expectations were met. The thing about going to a proper place to manage your health, like Timnath, is that it's not about losing weight for losing weight's sake, but also it's about integrating your entire body. I lost 6 kgs of fat, but also I gained muscle. There are some people who recommend that, still losing weight, just go and take juices. So people lose and then they become so tiny, and in the end they become very unhealthy. But with the proper diet, you lose the fat, but also gain the muscle which you need. So it's not a matter of just remaining bare bones. Bare bones also is a problem. It's an illness. You need to be proper. You have some fresh on you, and that fresh is the muscle. One of the other things I've discovered that our life is really a product of what we eat. The moment I started eating well, everything went well. I found the style of training at Timnath unique. It is kind of tailor-made. Many people go to gyms and say, oh, I have to go to the gym, I have to go to the sauna and then do that kind of thing. But you see, here there are certain stages, there are different drills for different things. Drills for muscles, drills for tightening your stomach, drills for your legs, drills for, and then people are fewer, and the doctor almost knows each and everyone's problem. So they give you the drills that are really suitable for your condition. Ever since I joined Timnath, I've always found time for myself. Sometimes you say, I'm so busy. Yes, I have a very busy job, but then we live once. So you may keep yourself so busy and you get this element that is going to put you down for months. So with that, I discovered that I have to always find time for myself. And that is something, that's the value that Timnath has instilled in me. If you have issues with your high blood pressure, you have issues with your weight, the best thing is not to kind of self-prescribe things for you. Take Panadol or take Joycev and do that. Go and have a proper examination of the doctor. They will recommend something that fits within your routine.
My name is Judith Mbanza Pumpenje. I work with Muju Care Limited. It's a research institution, and I work there as a senior grants and procurement manager. I had been fairly okay until when I had my last child. I had my last child when I was 38 years. Towards the end of the pregnancy, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. My OBGYN advised that usually most women, it resolves and goes away after the baby is born. And it did blow up after the baby was born, but I kept getting sporadic blood sugar levels that were maybe not in the normal range. So I kept checking. Because of that, I continued to check, and eventually it was recommended that I start on medication, and because they thought that maybe the lifestyle approaches that I was using were not sufficient. So I was put on metformin, 500 milligrams for a start. So the worst thing about the illness are the complications that are related to having elevated blood sugar levels, like the scare of amputations, the scare of kidney failure, the scare of cardiac conditions, because all those can be related to the condition if they are not well managed. Timnath, I may say, was by chance. I was watching YouTube, and then a YouTube video for Timnath popped up, and I listened in to Dr. Andrew and also some testimonies, and people were sharing the experiences that they have had their metabolic conditions addressed by nutrition and exercise. And of course, if you find a solution that does not involve medication, it is best to go with that solution. So that's why I decided to choose TNAT, because I'd already tried the conventional way of treating the condition, and now there was what I could call a non-conventional way, which seemed appealing to me. The initial experience, the first time I came with my husband, and we sat in with Dr. Andrew, and he took us through a series of health awareness and education on how certain conditions like hypertension, like high cholesterol, and diabetes can be addressed. I think the experience was very good because he takes you through everything step by step. It's not this kind of appointments, the usual appointments within 10 or so minutes you're out of the doctor's office, but he took his time to explain a couple of things. So I must say the experience was good. There have been many milestones since I started. Initially, the primary reason I joined was to address my elevated blood sugar levels. And I must say that my HbA1c when I started was at 7.8, and now the HbA1c has dropped to 6. I've tested twice and it's 6, but of course I would love to even bring it lower. And after discussing with the doctor, he convinced me that that is likely to happen if I continue doing what I'm doing. Before I was on times 2, 500 milligrams times 2, following Dr. Etuket's advice, it was reduced to 1 times 1. So there was a reduction in the medication. And the bonus is that I have lost weight along the way. I started in Jan. We are now in June, and I have lost about 8 kilograms. And of course, the visceral fat has dropped from 9 to now 7. In addition, my body age has dropped from 58 to 52, bearing in mind that I'm a 49-year-old woman, and I think that's a good drop, and I would like it to come to my actual body age. Yeah. When you join the Team Nath program, there are a couple of other things that help you to adjust your lifestyle. For example, you learn how important it is to have good sleep. You also learn on how to have good nutrition. We all know that if you have good sleep and good nutrition, longevity is kind of improved. Not that you won't die, but at least you know that you're healthy. So it gives you life skills to manage your day-to-day nutritional issues and also other life skills. So my encouragement to people out there is to take note of what they eat. Right now on the market, we have a lot of ultra-processed foods. In our supermarkets, you find biscuits, crisps, all sorts of things, and people are eating a lot of junk, if I may say. So my encouragement would be that people should eat whole foods, foods that are nutritious, foods that are homemade, and avoid eating junk, because of course there are many complications that arise. I would encourage people to also exercise. We lead sedentary lifestyles. We are seated most of the time in the car, or you reach home, you're watching TV. So there's very little exercise in flights lately. Good nutrition and exercise is what I would encourage people to do, because that is where most of our issues are coming.
My name is Edna Rukumayan. I work with a government agency called the Uganda National Roads Authority. In early 2020, I took a medical exam, my whole body check and all my vitals, and I was told my HbA1c was high. It was 10. The worst part was headache and blood vision, but also very thirsty at times and generally feeling unwell. It wasn't so pronounced, and it's not what took me to the hospital. I was just doing a check. So I had the condition, but I didn't know that I did. So I went to my physician who put me on metformin, and I'd been taking high blood pressure medication, amlodipine and losartan, for a while. So I added metformin and I took that for 3 months. I went back to the doctor and I had not improved much. So the doctor asked me to take a second tab, one in the morning, one in the evening. At that time, one of my family members introduced me to Timnas. I came over to Timon and had a chat with Dr. Andrew, and he introduced a diet I had not heard of. My family were very supportive. They all came along with me. So everybody at the table had the same thing. So it encouraged me to continue. And the benefits spilled over to all of them. Cut the long story short, about 2 months of that diet, I have basically corrected my HbA1c to 7. I continued for a while longer, and it was quite good at about 6.5. Along with the HbA1c improving, my blood pressure has also improved. I'm in a very good zone according to the doctors, but I also feel much stronger in my legs. I don't have joint pains like I used to. Working on your health is not a short time project. You have to go in for the long haul and make it a lifestyle. That's when it makes sense. So you have to be prepared and be disciplined. Keep it up. One thing I would advise everybody to do is to check their health status regularly. At least once a year, go to your doctor, even if you're not feeling well, and just check your body, how it's working. The doctor will advise what kind of tests to take, because there are certain things that by the time they manifest, they will have affected your body, and the reversal might not be possible or might take a very long time.
My name is Joel Nalugoda. I am a doctor. About 2020, I had a pre-diabetic scare. Now, this started when I realized that whenever I would take anything that has sugar, I would feel very low on energy. I would begin to sweat. So I went in for tests to find out what exactly was happening. And my sugar levels were fluctuating, so I was advised to keep off sugar. When I did that, when I kept off the sugar, I kind of felt better, but I was really low on energy. So it kept draining me. Once in a while, I would get those episodes where I'm drained, I'm low on energy, and the encouragement from the doctor that time was that continue walking, take your normal walks, because I do love to walk. Eat fruit, eat vegetables, but it didn't get better at that point. The worst thing about the condition is that I would say that even when you kept off the sugar, things kept deteriorating. You would get in episodes where you feel low on energy, you would sleep tired, wake up tired, and it was a whole cycle of being tired and tired. Despite of the walking, because I used to walk like about 3 to 4 times a week, for about an hour, I kept gaining the weight. Okay, since I joined Team Nath, this is the 8th week, and I've been able to lose more than 7 kilograms of fat, and I've been able to drop my visceral fat by 3 points into the normal range. Now, visceral fat is the fat around your organs that can increase the chances of having those NCDs, like type 2 diabetes, heart conditions. So that has dropped back to the normal range. I've been able to gain more than 1.5 kilogram of muscle, and this is just the start. We are halfway the journey, and I am ready to keep pushing. This is the longest I've been on an exercise journey, very consistent actually, and getting onto the exercise and actually getting results, feeling much more better, waking up stronger, being able to focus and concentrate. And it has put me at a point where I'm also able to regulate my stress, because like we say, it's not only about the exercise, it has to do with your nutrition and diet, as well as stress management and sleep. It's been pretty an interesting experience. The start was quite challenging because you're adjusting to a new diet, new food, you're adjusting to exercise. I wasn't a person who lifted weights because for one reason I felt that would kind of damage me if I don't have the right guidance while doing so. But I'm enjoying the experience. But also the education on the food, there's a platform where you're connected to, and you get to learn about the foods and everything being a medic, I didn't know that much, but it has been a process of unlearning and then relearning more to be able to better my health. One thing I would say is persistence. It's doable, you know, if you persist and you're consistent. Even taking the results every week, it reflects on your chart. If you keep doing the right thing, the right results will come. If you do the wrong things, it will still reflect. So on this journey, persistence is key, and commitment to do what you have to do. The encouragement would be to start, you know. Sometimes we say we're waiting for the right time for this and that. Just start where you are at. Yeah, because it will never be a right time. It's not going to be very convenient at the start. Adjusting is a challenge, but as you persist and keep going, later you will catch up and you'll start to enjoy it.
So at the beginning of this year, I was having chest pains and I just decided to seek medical help. I found that I had elevated blood pressure, and cardiologist put me on like 4 different drugs. It was crazy. At the same time, the doctor found that I was slightly obese, so I had to work on changing my lifestyle. I felt like I needed a coach because doing what I was doing on my own was really not the best. I used to do lots of cardio exercise, but still I was not eating healthy. So I could have lost more weight, but I realized that all the work I'd done had just lost only 2 kilos. So going to Dr. Andrew, I found out that my body age was 45 years, and that really, really scared me. So basically what he explained to me was that my body was metabolizing food at the age of a 45-year-old. I'm 38. So I felt I needed to do something to get in shape. And he advised that I need to lose visceral fat. It's like invisible fat, usually around the body organs, around the abdomen. And I agreed because if I felt there was any weight around my body, it was around, yeah.
His visceral fat was 8, basically getting into abnormal. So 8 weeks on the program, we're able to reduce his drugs to just 1 drug and get his pressures back to the normal range. And we're also able to actually get his blood cholesterol back into normal range.
Personally, I benefited. I feel refreshed. I feel alive. It wasn't easy at the beginning to follow the meal plans, but with time, I got into the new routine. It involved changing behavior, having to have proper meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, which sometimes I used to skip lunch and the like. But the most joyful thing about it, I was doing it with my family, my wife and kids. We would eat the same food, we would do exercise together. And this was just at the beginning of lockdown. So it was fun to get down and do plank, do all those different things together.
The average age of someone with diabetes currently in Uganda is about 35 years. And we know our population is predominantly youth. So somebody who knows the basic math, if it's 35, it's the smaller values which are contributing to drop that down. One thing people don't know is that Africans after Asians are first, then Africans have a greater predisposition. They are at more risk of getting diabetes because of our genetics. We think this is a disease of the white man, but actually our genetics predispose us. Now, what is making it worse, why the age is dropping lower, is because all these unhealthy lifestyles are now coming. So I just ask every Ugandan, a blood sugar test is between 5,000 and 10,000. For those who can afford, find a way of having your blood sugar checked. Check your sugar, know your status. And if you're in the borderline range, about to get it, whatever it is, start doing the right thing.
My name is Gisha. I'm 34 years old. Up until January 2020, I was battling with my weight and disease called polycystic ovarian syndrome. Since then, I've been working out at Timnath, watching out on my diet, and doing home workouts as well. And now I have overcome it. I was 97 kilos when I started, and now I'm 66 kilos. So this is my transformation. I have always had hormonal issues called PCOS. Since teenage, I've been having that issue that like disturbs your periods and you just keep on adding weight even if you're not eating. Even if you're working out, still it doesn't work. Always fat. Whatever I do, I lose weight, I gain back, I lose weight, and I gain back double again. I had seen doctor and it is like temporary. They give you medicine, you're back on track. Once you stop, you start gaining back again. My relatives used to tell me that you need to lose weight, you need to lose weight. Even my mom always used to tell me, stop cheese, so stop butter, stop bread. I tried it, but it never really worked. You stop, you lose, you eat, you gain back double. The worst thing about it, no matter how much you try, you will remain fat. Every time people will see you and tell you, you really need to lose weight, it's not going to be good for a long term and all that. And you always look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like yourself. And you always say, okay, I'll do this, I'll try. But it never came really from within. But once I decided, no, that is it. I need to look into myself and give it a try. Workout, diet, everything has to be properly. Then only I might lose. I found out about Timnath from one of my friends and I thought, let me give it a try. Let's just do it because I've been going to the gyms. I lose, I gain back, I lose, I gain back. Then I was like, okay, let me do something new. I found out about Dr. Andrew. He explained me about how the body works and how the food should be, how the workout he plans really well, that all muscle groups work. Initially, it was slow, like less weight. I could not do much, but gradually, I've been getting heavy weights and doing quite hard workouts, even like some of the calisthenics type and heat cardio with strength training. It's all mixed. It's not about only cardio or about strength training only because our body needs everything. Since January 2020, I've been able to lose 31 kilos. I was 97 kilos when I started, and now I'm 66 kilos. I've been able to gain muscles from 22% to 29%, and I've been able to lose fat percentage like from 50 to 34%. Concerning a fat, there is a thing called visceral fat, which is around your liver intestine. That is quite dangerous. Like it can get you high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer. So that was quite high for me, like almost at the border, like 9. But I'm able to reduce it to 6 right now. My body age was also 64 when I started. Now it has come down to 46. In lockdown, I was doing my home workouts, even watching out on my diet, and even I lost like 6 kilos. So after losing weight, you become more energetic. You are not lazy sitting on the sofa always. You are always moving, you are always walking, you are always doing some activity. And that is what keeps you going. You just have so much energy. And the consistency is the only key. I have got so much positive response from all the family and friends. Like, you have done a great job. And when they see you, when you hear that, you feel so confident and you feel like you want to keep on doing it, keep on doing it. Give best out of yourself and make yourself a better person. Now I'm very much into fitness. Like, I would love to work out every day and watch out my food. I've been loving calisthenics and doctor has been helping me to get into it, and I've been doing great push-ups now. Before I never used to do it well. Now under Dr. Andrew's guidance I could do it so well now. I've learned pistol squats even, like and I never thought I would learn that. but I could manage it. So one day I will even learn the pull-ups. All women can lift weight and you don't become manly. It's not that easy that you gain muscles like men. It's not, because our body is very different. You need to lift weight to tone your body. The advice to everyone is just that be consistent. Don't lose hope, even if it's a slow process. You are progressing. Give it a time. You will reach your goal. It's not a short-term thing. It's like lifestyle change.
My name is Dana Anwech. I am a lawyer by profession. I now manage a law firm called Mariah Advocates. I had at that time was struggling with my body weight, and I had become bigger than I had been before. And I decided that my normal workouts, which were running and a few cardio exercises, were not bringing down my weight. I hadn't understood that even my diet was a big part of it. So when I came to Timnath, I was able to find out that I needed to combine both a diet plan as well as a targeted exercise routine to bring down my weight. I dropped about 7 kilograms in 6 weeks because I lost so much weight and I looked smaller than I actually was. I was having a discussion with the doctor, and he let me know that the reason I looked leaner, I think that's the word, wasn't because I was actually that small, but I had gained a bit more muscle, and also the fat around, especially my waist, had gone down, which was really good. So the exercise helped me with that, and it helped me optimize my weight. I think I've had the privilege of seeing my body weight drop, but also muscle being built up. And I think the better thing for me was learning how to eat. I'm not great at diets. I'm really not great at diets. There are some things I really believe won't be in heaven, so I need to eat them now. But I am more aware of what carbs are healthy and portions that I'm supposed to be eating. So even in my normal diet, I will try as much as possible to eat the healthy carbs. I try as much as possible to try and bring my diet under control.